He's the Aussie actor best known as Denethor in The Lord of the Rings, Walter Bishop on Fringe, and Henry PARRISH on Sleepy Hollow. With motion capture for games, voice work too, he's currently starring as the Diviner on Star Trek Prodigy. The incredible John Noble is at Supanova in Melbourne and is giving us a little bit of his time.
This is a Trekzone Conversation.
John, thanks for a little bit of your time on today's Trekzone Conversation. I really appreciate it. Construction continues around the Trekzone office, so there might be some jackhammering and some nail guns in use, but we'll get through that. Now, have you had much time in Australia the past couple of years, what with this pandemic on and all?
Well, no. I did have to go back to Wellington to finish off a show I was doing, and I snuck across the pond catch up with my wife here, and but no, just but that 2 years couldn't travel, and she was stuck here and couldn't get to the States, and I was stuck there and couldn't get in here. It was pretty strange, but it's I'll see her tonight. She's in Adelaide waiting for me.
Well, what's the fan reaction been like with you at Supanova there? Who were they mostly here to see? Which character?
Well, there's quite a variety in this place. A lot. Usually the big sellers are things like Lord of the Rings, Fringe. They'd be the elementary. There's others, Sleepy Hollow, but Fringe and Lord of the Rings have been the staples. They've been both huge too in terms of kick-ons. That's it.
As I understand it, you live between New York and Sydney. Do you have a favourite city, or are there charms in each?
Well, actually, I own a house in Austin, Texas. So I base myself there, but New York's my favourite place to work there. I'll go back in a heartbeat when I can.
Now, I asked Georgina Haig in our other Supanova Melbourne chat about the differences between Aussie and US TV industries. Do you have a favourite yourself?
No, I like working there. The standard's usually pretty good. The standard of the writing's usually pretty good. It doesn't pretend to be something it's not. So, and just great writers, and the crews are so good. So, and I mean, we get on. Actors get on with each other, unless the other actor's an arsehole. Yes, unless the other actor is an unhappier soul, shall we say. But most of the time they aren't. It's wonderful.
We know you best as Dr. Walter Bishop on Fringe, Henry PARRISH on Sleepy Hollow, and Denethor from Lord of the Rings. You also provide narration and voiceover work too, so is there a medium that entices you the most?
Yes, I do them all because that's a good way to make a living. I love doing television. I've spent years and years in theatre, but I love the urgency of television, and you don't sit around and have table reads like they say. No, you don't. You go on there and you might have a read through before you do the scene, but that's for the camera. It's not for you. So you've got to think on your feet, and I like that a lot. Television.
Your body of work is too long to fit it all in here, but there's also motion capture for games, guest starring roles, and an appearance on Australia's All Saints. We love All Saints. And most recently, lending your voice to Star Trek Prodigy. With production continuing, I'm not going to pry too deeply, lest ye be spoiled, but how did that role come about?
I got a call. One of the executive producers, a friend of mine, it was one of the executive producers on Fringe, and he rang me and said, it's a flattering thing. Basically, he said, would you do it? And I said I would, and I'm glad I did, because I thought it must have been fantastic to be in one of those big franchises. Lord of the Rings was, but I'm thinking Star Wars, Star Trek. They're huge, and they've been around for so long. So it was a bit of a thrill to actually being offered the job.
Prodigy certainly has captured the imagination of a new generation, led by the incredible Kate Mulgrew. Have there been any group recording sessions, or has COVID and just the general nature of voice work kept everyone isolated?
No, not really. That we did early days I did a panel with the writers, I think. But no, I have not met the other actors.
And what's that been like? Because obviously that's quite standard in voice work, not necessarily getting all together.
No.
Does that pose any challenges or problems for you to deliver a quality performance?
No, not really. Provided that I'm processing correctly, then it should be good. if I'm doing a shithouse job, then someone will tell me, I hope, you know. Seriously, I don't want to be going out there with work that's below my standard or your standard. So I work really hard at it. I'm glad I do. I love it. Love acting.
And I guess that's a little bit of faith in the director as well to pull that vision together and get those performances.
You don't
that he
get too
wants.
much from directors in television, seriously. You know, they don't have time. They just... And so, particularly with regular cast, they'll let us go. And in some ways, they don't like actually giving... directors don't like giving notes to regular characters because we know the characters better than he'll ever know, and so we don't want his notes. But, yeah, you get it sometimes. And with some directors much more than others, you know, just depends on how you get on.
Well, season 1.5 is coming up later this year. Is there anything you can tease us with?
You know I can't, don't you?
I do know you can't, but I have
But
to
I
ask
won't.
anyway.
Yeah, I actually shot some of that Monday in America. Yeah, it's great to work on it, and as I said, the brothers that write it are terrific fellas, and how they went about their process of getting successful in Hollywood is interesting in itself.
Yeah, Kevin and Dan
Kevin and
Hageman.
Danny, yeah.
Let's take you back to Fringe, and I understand you're a student of theoretical physics. So my research tells me you were keen to keep the show grounded
Well,
in
that's-
reality.
When we started off, they would put in... It was a different show in the first season. It was very much a Monster of the Week type thing, and I didn't think it was that good. And then we changed tack halfway through season 1, and then it went off. But it was just... Monster of the Week is the term we use for when it's got some hairy monster and, you know, you've got to kill it or something. So I got bored with those. But the science, and I'd said to the writers, we were friends, I said, I'll do anything of the science stuff. I said, as long as it's grounded in theoretical physics. He's not going to do an experiment, which year 10 could do, one of the great geniuses. He couldn't do it. So I said, can you do that? Just root it in that reality. And so they did, and that reality is what was science fiction then. It's not anymore. You know, it's all the alternate universe stuff and that. Yeah, it was great. I loved it. So I was interested, I still am interested. And it's been an extraordinary 10 or 15 years in that sort of literature. I've still got quite a lot of books I haven't finished reading, but I adore them. I'm astounded that I'm sharing a conversation with these geniuses here. You know, oh my! I understand a lot of it, but I'm not a scientist. I found it interesting. That's why, I think, and I still do a bit. And I think science and math gets a really bad rap. It gets a really bad rap. You know, we'll go, oh, math, science. But it's not a problem. The science is achievable. Mathematics is harder. Mathematics is a lot harder, I reckon. Harder to sell also to an audience, that they'll understand it enough to go for the run. So, yes, the scientific side of it was balanced with the vulnerability and the love stories and the relationships. All of the characters were believable in some strange world. And we built characters, so we built relationships as we went. Well, we built a relationship with the woman that played Astrid. She was basically brought on as a sort of a standing around role. And Josh Jackson and I decided that we were going to bring her into it. We were going to bring it in. So we used to, every day doing experiment, say, can Georgina come over and help me with that? Not Georgina, Jessica come over and help you. Oh, yeah, it doesn't matter. So we kept feeding her this stuff. By the end of the first season, she was a star. Did you not? Wonderful kid.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it.
John Noble, I really appreciate you taking the time to have a Trekzone Conversation in amongst all your Supanova commitments. Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's great to meet you and lovely to be home, man. Oh, I don't think I'll ever go again.